Shabbat Shalom to everybody, and we glorify the name of the Most High God for giving us the opportunity to be able to see this day in the land of the living. As I always said, that the best thing for us to do is always to give glory to the name of the Holy One. The beautiful day, sun shining, snow everywhere, and we exalt Him for His blessing upon us. Remember in the book of Psalm 91, he said that with your eyes shall you look and behold the reward of the wicked. It's stated down in Psalm 91 that no evil will befall us. That we are going to that 1,000 will fall by our side and 10,000 at our right hand, but no evil will befall us. We are going to look and behold only with our eyes. You see, so we thank Him for giving us the opportunity to come, because we saw that it has been tough. We understand the situation, the coronavirus situation, and many people have passed away. But God is protecting and is guiding us, and He is leading us in the path of justice, in the path of righteousness. So the parasha of this morning is called Parasha Bo. The parasha of this morning is called Parasha Bo, and I subtitle it Total Freedom. I subtitle it Total Freedom. Why did I subtitle it Total Freedom? Is there anything like total freedom? So to speak, there is nothing like a total freedom, because the Torah gave us a freedom, but a limited freedom. You see, the Torah gave us a freedom, but a limited freedom, in the sense that Torah itself is a yoke. You see, Torah itself is a yoke, but is a yoke of righteousness, is a yoke of peace, is a yoke of justice. You see, he said that Yeshua HaMashiach himself said that, come unto me, all you that are labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. He said, I will take your heavy load, I will take your heavy yoke, and I will give you a lighter one. The Yeshua didn't say, I'm going to make you free like a bird, and you can do whatever you want to do, as some preachers or as some rabbis or as some other religions are saying, right? He said, I'm going to give you a lighter one, and that lighter one is the Torah. Because people will come and say, or some other religion will come and say that, don't worry, that is the Old Testament, everything there is old, there's nothing new. But Yeshua himself said that no yud of the word in the Torah will pass away without being fulfilled. He said, I have come to fulfill the Torah. He never said, I have come to destroy and wipe it out and give you something new. No. He said, my reason of me coming here, the reason of me on this planet, is to do what? Is to fulfill the Torah, is to fulfill what has been written. So therefore, why I gave it the word total freedom is because God is about to deliver us completely from ourselves. The most important thing is, without you having a total freedom from yourself, you are actually not free. Many people will come and say, oh Lord, have mercy upon me. Oh God, forgive me. I did something wrong to this person. I forgive them. I forgive her. I forgive him. But they cannot forgive themselves. And without you, first of all, not forgiving yourself, you are still in bondage. You have to forgive yourself, then you can be able to move forward. You can be able to open a new chapter in your life. And we can see the total freedom that God gave the children of Israel, our forefathers, in those days and at this time. Parasha Bo. Parasha Bo, which means to come, details the final 3 plagues that Adonai inflict upon Egypt, the preparation made for leaving Egypt, and the physical exodus of Egypt at Passover. The word Bo means to come, but the majority of the parasha relates to leaving of Egypt. In order to leave Egypt, Moshe first has to come before Pharaoh. The gematria of the word Bo is 3, all right, which means Adonai our God does not say to Moshe and Aaron to come to go to Pharaoh as Adonai himself was already there beckoning the other two, which is Moshe and Aaron, to come and join him. Here we can see that the war bow is said come, but majority of the people relate as going to Pharaoh. No, the word itself is meaning to come, and the gematria of that word is 3. The gematria of the word bow is 3, and it's giving us an hint here. It's telling us that God himself was already in Egypt doing all these things, all this work, all the plagues. God is in action. God has descended from the highest level in this Sephiroth to the lower one, as it descends lower and lower, to make his hand, his finger, so that the Egyptian will feel the finger of God. Not even his 5 hands, just the finger. You see, just for them to realize, to see that yes, indeed, the God of Israel is the God of the ends of the universe. So the 3 here is God himself, one that was already in Egypt, and the 2 other, Moshe and Aaron, has to come to join God before the palace of Pharaoh to warn him for the last 3 plagues. And the gematria bow, which I said is 3, also represent the final 3 plagues that God is about to show in the land of Egypt. Parasha Bo is, in addition to containing the last 3 plagues brought upon Mizraim, which is Egypt, also contain the very first mitzvah commandment that God himself commanded Bnei Israel, our forefathers, the children of Israel, through Moshe. HaKodesh Hazel Lahem Rosh Hadashim. This month is to you the head, the first of all the months. Chapter 12, verse 1, Shemot. In the opinion of the commentator to the Torah, the word bow, which appear at the beginning of this week reading, contains a deeper meaning than this simple translation meaning to come. The fact that the word is then followed by the Hebrew letter Lamed, meaning not only to, but perhaps more literally into, gives us insight into what the word bow in this context really means. It was not sufficient for Moshe merely to visit or come to Pharaoh of Egypt to deliver the warning from God regarding the plagues that were going to descend upon Egyptian nation because of their refusal to free the Hebrew people from bondage. Moshe could have delivered this information by proxy, by messengers, by letters, or any of the other means that human beings use then to communicate one with another. This word bow has a very, very, very deep spiritual understanding. It has an extra layer to what Moshe, or to what God is about to do in the land of Mizraim, in the land of Egypt. It's not a literal comment, saying that just, okay, you come and and deliver and tell Pharaoh this and this and this and this. The word that I said is saying in the Hebrew letter Lamed that is written there gives us this understanding that it is not just only to, but into. For us to see, God is trying to open our mind, our eyes, our spiritual eyes, for us to see deep to what He's saying. And we are going to see all these things this morning. I'm going to explain as much as I can, as much as the Spirit leads, for us to see what God is trying to let us to let us understand through this word bow. Moshe Rabbeinu might have want to say, okay, I can send this message through emissary, through a messengers, or through a boy or a girl, or any means of sending a message in those days. But it is not just literally to come, but for Moshe to be able to deliver in a personal. This one is not a personal thing. Right? It is not just only that God is wants to communicate to Pharaoh, but God is using Moshe Rabbeinu at this moment, at this time, saying you have to appear in a persona before Pharaoh. It is now my business and between me and Pharaoh. It is not just you are what? You are just a tool. You are what? You are a tool that I'm using. It is this case is a personal case. It's between me, that is God that is talking, that me and Pharaoh, because I have made his heart hardened and the heart of his advisor. God wants to make foolishness of their wisdom, of the wisdom of the Egyptians. They thought that they are smart. They thought that they can outmaneuver Moshe, because they are seeing all this as if it was Moshe that was doing it. But Moshe has kept on telling them that it is not me, it is God, and it is God, but they refused to believe him because they thought Moshe was performing a kind of a magic. But this is not a magic, this is a miracle. Rather, it was necessary for Moshe to enter into the brain and feeling of Pharaoh, so to speak, that propelled the entire narrative of this week reading and will lead to the great moment of freedom and emancipation of the Hebrew people. It is as though the Lord, so to speak, wants Moshe to really understand the stubbornness the stubbornness and almost suicidal behavior of Pharaoh, and to appreciate that it is this intransigence itself that will be his undoing and the destruction of Egypt. It is as though the Torah is teaching us that if one is unable to comprehend the depth of the personality of evil, one can never really combat evil in a practical and strong fashion. There is a TV series which I watched some time ago. They call it Game of the Throne. This is exactly what is happening. They call it the TV series called Game of the Throne, and this is exactly what is saying there, because we can see a suicidal kinds of character or traits in one of the queen, right? That refuse to leave the throne, even though seeing that the country is being destroyed, even seeing that its people has been slaughtered. So to her, she wanted to use the people as they call it as a meat. So me, I will remain in power. I don't care what happened to my people. So why are you the leader of the people if you don't care about what happens to the people? You rather use the people for your own benefit. You want to rule by force. So the enemy, you give the people out to the enemy. This is the kind of the suicidal threat in the life of Pharaoh and his servant. Pharaoh refused to listen, and his servant refused to advise him a good advice, because God himself wants to make foolishness of their wisdom. He said, "For this reason I have raised you up to show my power." So among our people, we always have this type of prayers, saying, "God Almighty, please do not use me for the negative, only for the negative, but use me for the positive." Because there is two kinds of glory. We need to understand. In the eyes of Israel, God is killing several birds with one stone here. God is killing several birds with one stone, so to speak. Here, God is showing the Israelites that I am your God. I am with you. I will defend you unto the end. I will bring you out, and I will lead you to the land which I have promised your forefathers, the land of Israel, that flow with milk and honey. And at the same time, God is showing the Egyptians that if you believe in me, you will be saved. If you believe in me, I will save you. You are all my creation. I don't care who you are. Are you of the blood descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Or you are not. You are all my creation. God is a just God. God is a God of justice. Just come and join my people, and I will save you. And at the same time, God is showing to Pharaoh that he is God, that there is no any other God in the universe. Because Pharaoh thought by himself that he is God. Because that is what the Egyptian knows. Because their Pharaoh is their God. God is saying, no, you are not a God. You are just a mere human being with blood and flesh. That I am God. And at the same time, God is making foolishness of the wise men of Egypt, who thought that they can duplicate or replicate the miracle that Moshe was doing. It came to a sense that he said, no, you know what? We cannot do this anymore. Because these signs are from God. What Moshe is doing is not a magic. We duplicate or we replicate other kinds of things that he did, Moshe, but these ones, these locusts and all this darkness and all this blood, we cannot do it anymore. This is something special. This is actually from God. So God is showing all these signs, telling them that He alone is God, that human being cannot be God. We've tried several times to be God, from the Tower of Babel, from the Garden of Eden. We want to be like God. We want to be God itself, but it is impossible. We've tried and tried and tried. It will not work because we are the creation of God. We are just a creature, and God is the creator. This month of Yetzirah Mitzrayim, the month of Exodus from Egypt, is counted as the first month. All subsequent months are called the second, the third, the fourth, etc., counting from this month. Rambam explained that we count the day of the week from the Shabbat in order to constantly remember the Shabbat, and we count the months from the month of Yetzirah Mitzrayim in order to constantly remember the Exodus from Egypt. We count our day from what? From Shabbat, which is Saturday. After Shabbat, the first day is Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and so on and so forth. Then, likewise, we count the first month from the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, and so on and so forth. For us to be able to remember first during the week, for us to remember that Shabbat is coming. We prepare, we rejoice, we exhort, we do all we can to meet the Shabbat in good mind, in positive mode. And then likewise in the month, that this month shall be the first month for you. So we anticipate that the first month is coming, which is the month of deliverance, the month that we slaughter the Pesach and make the sacrifice. Yetzirah Mitzrayim revealed that Adonai is actively and intimately involved in all that transpires in this world. That there wasn't a one-time creation, but rather an ongoing process of creation and recreation. How Adonai will recreate each moment is guided by our own action. Exactly. This is to teach us, to give us an insight and understanding that the creation is not just one-time thing. It is not that God created the universe, but that God is creating the universe. It's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. This process continues, and precisely how everything is recreated, how everything is being done in every moment of history depends upon the action of a man. If we want mercy, if we want truth, if we want justice, then we do teshuvah. We come close to God and we ask Him for mercy, for compassion. We do teshuvah every time. But if we continue to be stubborn like Pharaoh, if we continue to harden our soul, our heart, and our mind, and refuse to do teshuvah, then therefore we are going to face the consequence of our action. Then don't come and say that God is punishing you. God does not punish nobody. God is not punishing me. God is not punishing you. We punish ourselves with our own action. Because if we do what is right and what is just, and the land is flowing with justice, with peace, then everybody will enjoy. But if we do what is evil and negative, and the land is flowing with blood, is flowing with immorality, is flowing with injustice, then the judgment will come. And then you don't come and say it is God that is punishing you. For God is not interested in punishing nobody. God is a God of love. God is a God of justice. God is a God of blessing. He blesses everybody. But your action determine how, our action determine how things is being recreated. Kodesh, which is month, has the same root as Hadash, which is newness. The Or Haggadah explain that the new moon is the physical phenomenon that manifests the spiritual concept of renewal. This spiritual potential was given to us at the time of Exodus in Egypt, which God told us that this month shall be the new month unto you. A new month. And from this month, you begin to count the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month, and so on and so forth. HaKodesh Hazeh Lahem, this renewal is yours. That's what the Torah said. He said, this renewal is ours. It is not for him. It is not for God. It's for our own benefit. For us to be able to remember what he has done for us in the land of Egypt. If we want a better renewal, then we should start to begin to do what is right. We should decide to do what is just. We should better think and decide that we have to follow the path of the Torah. For the Torah is not old. Don't let people deceive you. The Torah is anew, is alive every moment, every hour, every second. Don't let people tell you, this is the Old Testament and this one is the New Testament. For the Torah said there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is of old. It's a kind of a language that people want to use to discredit the Torah so that you won't follow it. Because they tell you, the Israelites could not follow it. It is hard. No, the Torah is not hard. We make it hard. If the Torah is hard, the Holy One, blessed be He, wouldn't have given us in the first place. Because the Holy One, blessed be He, is not a wicked God. He is not a wicked God. He will never give us things that we cannot do. He give us the things that we can do. He said, I will give you a lighter what? A lighter load, a lighter burden. And the Torah is the lighter one. To guide our path in this world that is filled of darkness, Torah is a light on your path that can guide you. Because if you are blind, how can you see in darkness? But Torah is a light in this darkness of the world that we live in. Because in this world there's a lot of pit, there's a lot of hole. If you are not guided by the Torah, you will fall inside and you will die. But if you are guided by the light of the Torah, you will never fall inside, because you can see spiritually and physically. Many people think, I can see, I have my two eyes, but actually they are walking like a walking dead. You know? So it is my brother and my sister, my brethren, let's return into the Torah. Let's return to the faith of our forefathers. I'm not talking about returning into a religion. I know many people say, that Jewish religion, I'm not talking that they just dress up and there's evil in their midst. I'm not talking about man-made religion. I'm talking about the faith of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Not religion. Not man-made religion that they make the Torah even heavy. They add and make it cumbersome. But I'm talking about the Torah that was given us by God through Moshe on Mount Sinai. Let's return to that Torah, and our way will be better. The Mishnah in Avot 5:1 states that Adonai created the world through 10 utterances. The 10 times that Adonai spoke. Why? It asks, didn't Adonai create the world with one utterance? The Mishnah answered that it was in order to reward the righteous who sustained the world that was created. with 10 utterances, and to punish the wicked who destroy the world created with 10 utterances. The world was initially in a state of absolute eloquence, which means pure godliness. Each utterance was a step down process. Had the world been created with only one utterance, and thus being only one step removed from the original state, then the presence of Adonai would have been so tangibly recognizable, and that continuous state of recreation so frightening appearance, that there wouldn't have been a true free will. There needed to be a hairstyle, that means a concealment in the creation that would camouflage the fact of constant recreation. The world needed to be 10 steps removed from that original state of absolute pure godliness. The step down filtering process of that pure light granted free will and ultimate responsibility for our actions in the guise of reward and punishment or consequences per se. What am I trying to say here? That according to the Mishnah in Avot 5:1, it said that God created the world with 10 utterances. The world was initially in the state of pure godliness, complete godliness, calm, peace, everything complete calm. And each word that God spoke into creation is a one step downward in order to camouflage the original pure state of godliness. Because if God would have created the world with only one utterance, then there will be no free will. We will be like what? Like a robot, like a zombie. But the reason why God has created and given us this will is for us to be able to decide. He has given you everything. Then you decide how to use it. And for you to be able to decide on how to use it, right, you have to camouflage it in 10 different ways from the original state of pure godliness. So with the 10th word spoke into creation at the 10th level, then emerge the free will for us to decide, for us to choose. So you won't come and blame God, say, oh, it is you didn't give me a choice. No, there's always a choice. God created everything for you to use positively, but the thing that was created to use positively can also be used in a negative way. So you decide on how you are going to use it. It is your choice. But don't forget that at the end of time, there is going to be a reward or a consequence. The consequence is either positive or negative. So you decide. Because if you use the things that the Holy One, blessed be He, has created for negative means or for negative things, then the consequence will be punishment. But if you use it to do everything that is positive, then the consequence will be blessing. This level of concealment is incredibly precise. 10 utterances, no more and no less. 9 will not have concealed enough. It will not have allowed us free will choice to sin. 11 will have concealed too much. We would not have been able to find Adonai and choose good. 10 utterances allow the possibility of revealing or ignoring the hand of God in the world of concealment. And this is exactly what Pharaoh did. He completely ignored the word of God. He's not interested. I am God, he said. That he does not recognize the God of Moshe. He does not recognize the God of the Hebrew. Who is this God? He answered. I'm not interested in him because I myself, I am God. So why should I bow down to another God? You see, the pride of a man. It's always said that pride comes before a fall. Before a man fall, before any person fall, before a woman fall, before anything happen to any person, negative, pride comes first. They begin to puff. They begin to puff off. And that is why on Pesach we don't eat bread with yeast, because puff is a symbol, yeast is a symbol of pride, right? He said that, and they prepared their bread, but it doesn't have, there was no time enough for the bread to rise. They packed in haste and they left. God is telling that it is not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence that happened, because some people might think it's a coincidence. Because tomorrow the Israelite can come and say, oh, it is me that saved me. I saved myself. Pride of a man. I saved myself. We organized together, we fought the Egyptians, we conquered them, we took all their gold, we took all their properties, and we escaped. Right? But God is telling us everything is calculated in the heavens. God is giving us a word here that you did not save yourself. Well, I, the Lord, saved you. It is God that saved us. It is God that delivers us. It is God that brings us unto himself, and that draws us close unto himself to give us the Torah on Mount Sinai. Elohim, one of God's name, has the same numerical value as Hateva, the state of nature. Adonai concealed his act under the gaze of nature. The Zohar states that the word Elohim is comprised of two words, Ele, which mean all of these, and me, which mean who. Look around at all the wonders that surround us. Don't they thunder out those two words? Ele, me. All of this, who created it? All of this, who created it? Many people might be saying, oh, it comes by chance. It just hocus pocus, boom, and everything comes into being. That there is no intelligence, that created it. Everything just, is by chance. The same thing Pharaoh thought too. Oh, all these signs that is happening is a chance. Yeah, there is no intelligence. There is no God. I am the God. I do everything by myself. I decide. You see, the water turned to blood. Oh, it's magic. It's just a chance. I have magician that can do that too. The head coming. Oh, I see. Because the weatherman has forecast that the wind will blow and bring the ice, and they always have a means to explain, to deceive you. The same thing they say now about the coronavirus. Oh, it comes out from Yuan, from one laboratory, or from one fish market, or from one wet market. Oh, it just comes like that, boom. And it's from the bat. From the bat, it entered the market, and somebody bought it and eat it. The same story they told us about HIV. Oh, it's from the monkeys. The Africans ate monkey millions of years ago. There is no HIV. The same thing, the Chinese have been eating their bat for thousands of years. There is no coronavirus. It just suddenly come, boom. There is no intelligence behind it. God is telling us we should wake up. What happened in Egypt is what is happening now in this present day, at this moment as I am speaking. God is giving us his fingers. He's telling us to wake up from our dreams, to wake up from our immorality, to wake up from our stupidity. Because what was wrong 50 years ago is what everybody is hailing as right now. Evil, we say it's good. Good, we turn it into evil. We turn the world upside down. God is sending us a signal. God is sending us a message that it is time to make teshuvah. It's time to come close, to repent, to change, to seek the living God, to seek our Creator. In 1 year, over 2 million people were wiped out. No, even less than a year, because coronavirus started in March last year. Less than a year, 2 million wiped out. And we are sleeping and dreaming and saying it is from one bat. It's a warning. Pharaoh ignored all the warning. You see, the newsmen, the fake news, has made everything. They can explain everything to you. And you believe them. They make you to watch, and while you are dying, you are sleeping. You are dying sleeping, so to say, because they tell you that there is nothing behind it. Just don't worry. We'll find something to, another thing will come. We'll find something to heal ourselves, and that is it. God is asking us to wake up from our injustice, to do justice, to do right, to be the advocate of the poor, to be the advocate of the widows, of the fatherless, of the motherless, to help, to do what is good. The 10 utterances is there, but is hidden. Yet, with an honest, piercing gaze, it becomes so apparent. Abraham Avinu, the father of monotheism, recognized that at the tender age of 3, Ele means so hidden and yet so obvious. Hazar teaches that the template corresponds to the 10 utterances through which the world was created. The 10 utterances was a step-down process that concealed Adonai's presence in this world. The corresponding 10 plagues were a step-up process, revealing that which was hidden in that concealment. They show the me in the Ele. They reveal Adonai's active role in every second of this world. It was this revelation of recreation that empowered us with the renewal of the things that God has created. Everything is renewed every day. Every creation is renewed every second, every minute, every hour. Every day, everything is renewed. And God is teaching us, telling us, using this week parasha to enlighten us, to open our eyes, that the time of judgment is very close. This is the beginning of the end. That we, the children of God, that we, those elected and chosen, should come back, should hold ourselves close and do what is right. Yeshua HaMashiach in this week Messianic writing in the book of Luke chapter 22 verse 7 to 30. He said that he came to do what? To perform the Pesach. Yeshua didn't say, you know what, there is no more Pesach, I cancel it. That is what happened 3,000 years ago in Misraim, or 2,000 years ago in Misraim. I'm not interested. I have come to give you another Pesach, or I have come to give you another thing new. No. Yeshua HaMashiach follow the Pesach, the instruction that was given by Moshe Rabbeinu. He followed all the letter of all the words of the Torah to the list. He did not bring anything new. He did not bring anything that Moshe had not spoken about, or the prophet, nothing new. What he came to do is to fulfill them, to enlighten us more deeper spiritual understanding. Maybe a way to clarify, so to speak, what Moshe has been trying to tell us that we refuse to see, to open our eyes, our horizon more wider for us to see. That is what I will say Yeshua has come to do. But we refuse to understand. We saw the death of the firstborn of Egypt. The sacrifice was to save us. Well, as we said yesterday during Erev Shabbat, everything in life is balanced. Everything that the Holy One, blessed be He, has created is balanced. There is nothing that is unbalanced in the things of His creation. All things are balanced. I give you this, and I take this. That is it. It's a trade. The sacrifice, the korban that saved us, that the animal giving its life to save us, and those that refuse to perform it, be it among the Israelites or be it the Egyptians, they died. Remember, it is not all Israelites that left Egypt. Neither is all it is not all Israelite that obey the word of Moshe Rabbeinu, because there are some of them that were eating under the table of Pharaoh, which Pharaoh is using to oppress their own brothers. We still have them till today. There's a lot of people who another people is using to oppress their own people. They think it's a business. Oh, this make me rich, or this I gain money, or I have this gain or favor, and so they can use you against your own people because of money, or because of gold, or because of favor, or because of anything. The time has come for you to change. The time has come for you to think deep in your heart, in your soul, that your action is a right. If you refuse, then the consequence will come, just as it came upon the Egyptians and upon those that refused to follow Moshe Rabbeinu. The Egyptian firstborn were wiped out, but we were saved. There was tangible darkness in Egypt, but in the camp of the children of Israel, there was light. So therefore, what am I saying? My brethren, my sisters, let's come. The Holy One is waiting for us, is inviting us unto himself. He's drawing us, he wants to draw us close unto himself. Yeshua has come to fulfill the Torah to the least. Not a single word will go unfulfilled. He said, he performed the Pesach. He performed the Korban. He didn't say the blood does not. No. He performed the Korban as it was written by Moshe Rabbeinu with his disciples. That is a true Messiah. One who follows his tradition, the tradition that lifts up the name of the living God, that lifts up the name of the Creator, and not ones that only benefit men. So therefore, this morning I'm asking us to come close, to draw close, to repent, and to make teshuvah. We count the day of the week to remember the Sabbath, the creation. We count the months to remember the Exodus, the recreation. Recreation, renewal. There is no reason to assume that what I have this moment, I will have the next. If I will utilize it properly, it stands to reason that it will continue to be created. If I abuse or neglect it, it might be in my best interest to no longer have it. It is the recognition of this renewal in the world that brings about a renewal in the person. Don't take anything for granted. Count the days, count the month, make them count. The total freedom. God has given us total freedom for ourselves. God is trying to give us, He's telling us, I'm giving you total freedom from yourself. Because the worst enemy of man is man himself. The worst enemy of man is man himself. So God has come down to give us this total freedom from ourselves. Once we have this total freedom from ourselves, which the Torah has given us, which the Torah has shown us, then we can step upward one by step, just like the ladder of Yaakov in his dream. We can step higher and higher and higher, closer to the Holy One. Parashat Bo. Shabbat Shalom.